Trading didn't change my life because I found a magical indicator. It changed when I changed. Losses were not my real problem, my mindset was. I was emotional, impatient, and addicted to action. Inspired by the principles of personal responsibility and discipline taught by Jim Rohn, I realized success in trading is not about predicting the market. It's about mastering yourself. This is my transformation. Jim Rohn often said, "You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself." These words never truly hit me until I faced my own reflection in the mirror of the trading account. For years, I blamed everything outside myself. I blamed the broker for delays, the market makers for volatility, the news for sudden price swings, even what I called manipulation by large players. I was convinced that external forces were the reason I was failing, that the universe was somehow conspiring against me. Every loss felt personal, every drawdown felt like injustice. And the more I blamed, the more I lost, and the more frustrated I became. But the truth is simple: the market is not against you. The market doesn't care about your feelings, your ego, or your plans. It doesn't recognize excuses or forgive mistakes. The market reacts only to price, supply, and demand. The real enemy was never the charts or the news, it was me. My lack of discipline, my impulsive actions, my unwillingness to follow rules, and my refusal to accept responsibility. I realized that blaming external forces was just a way to avoid looking inwards. To avoid facing the truth that I was the one standing in my own way. The day I finally accepted that my results were a reflection of my habits rather than the market, everything began to shift. I started reviewing my trades honestly, without the fog of anger, without the cushion of excuses. I began journaling every mistake, every impulsive trade, every emotional decision that led to losses. I documented why I entered a trade, why I exited, and how I felt in the process. At first, it was uncomfortable, almost painful. Seeing my own patterns of failure laid bare was humbling. But this was the first step in regaining control. Winners ask themselves a simple but powerful question. What can I do better? They understand that change starts within, that the path to success is through self-improvement. Losers, on the other hand, endlessly ask, why is this happening to me? They remain stuck, trapped in a cycle of blame, waiting for external circumstances to change rather than taking action themselves. The difference between the two is mindset, and mindset is a habit. Taking personal responsibility is more than admitting mistakes, it is committing to change. It is realizing that every decision you make, every trade you take, every reaction to the market is yours to own. Profitability begins the moment excuses end. The moment you stop pointing fingers. The moment you recognize that your trading account is a mirror of your character, your discipline, and your choices. The more you embrace responsibility, the more empowered you become, the clearer your decisions grow, and the more consistent your results. This is not just about trading, it's about life. And in the end, the market will always reflect the strength of your character, the discipline of your mind, and the courage to take responsibility for your own success. Motivation is fleeting. I used to believe that I needed to feel inspired, confident, or in the zone to trade successfully. I thought the right feeling would guide me to the perfect entry and exit. On days I felt confident, I over-leveraged, convinced that the market owed me a win. On days I felt fear or doubt, I hesitated, missing opportunities or entering half-heartedly. My emotions were running the show, and my account reflected it. Some days I felt like a winner, other days I felt like a failure, but in reality, I was neither. I was a slave to my feelings, and my results were inconsistent, unpredictable, and often painful. Then I realized something crucial: motivation will never make you profitable. Motivation comes and goes, just like the market itself. You can feel motivated one morning and discouraged the next. Motivation can push you to start, but it cannot carry you through challenges, mistakes, or losses. True success in trading, and in life, comes from discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Discipline is taking action when emotions tell you to stop. Discipline is following rules when fear and greed tempt you to break them. Discipline is the bridge between desire and results. I started building my own framework of rules, a disciplined system to guide my trades. I set a fixed risk per trade, so that no single mistake could devastate my account. I promised myself never to seek revenge on the market, never to chase losses out of frustration. I created a maximum daily loss limit, a line I would never cross no matter how tempting it seemed to make it back. And I committed to walking away after 3 consecutive losses, to preserve not just my account, but my mental clarity and emotional balance. Following these rules was not easy. It required saying no to impulses, no to excitement, no to fear-driven actions. At first, I questioned myself, am I missing an opportunity? Should I push further? But over time, I saw the results. My losses became smaller, my mistakes fewer, and my confidence grew. Not the false confidence that comes from feeling lucky, but the quiet, steady confidence that comes from knowing I was following a system I could trust. Discipline is not restriction. It is not punishment. It is protection. It protects your account, your confidence, and your long-term growth. The shift from motivation to discipline was transformative. I stopped waiting for the perfect feeling. I stopped chasing emotions. I no longer needed to psych myself up to trade. I simply followed my rules, trusted the process, and let the results come naturally. Discipline gave me freedom. The freedom to trade without fear, without regret, without impulsive mistakes. Discipline turned trading from a roller coaster of highs and lows into a predictable, manageable, and profitable process. In the end, motivation may get you started, but discipline keeps you going. Discipline doesn't depend on feelings or circumstances. It is a daily commitment to yourself, to your goals, and to your standards. The market will always test your patience, your emotions, and your resolve. Only discipline ensures that you will pass the test and come out profitable, stronger, and more confident. I used to think that the more trades I made, the more money I would earn. I believed that if I was constantly in the market, always reacting, always chasing opportunities, then profits would follow. I was wrong. In fact, the opposite was true. More trades did not mean more profits, it meant more mistakes, more stress, and more regret. I was chasing activity instead of opportunity. I was chasing the illusion of control, thinking that constant action equaled success. But the market doesn't reward activity, it rewards patience, preparation, and precision. The moment I realized this, everything began to shift. I began to understand that patience is not a passive state. It is an active discipline. It is the ability to wait for the right moments, to avoid impulsive decisions, and to trust in your analysis. It is the courage to sit on the sidelines while the market tempts you with noise, uncertainty, and what feels like missed opportunities. The biggest transformation in my trading mindset came when I learned to wait. I learned to wait for high probability setups, to wait for confirmation, to wait for my edge to present itself. I learned that sometimes the most profitable action is inaction. That doing nothing at the wrong time is far more valuable than doing something just to feel busy. Professional traders understand this. They get paid to wait. They understand that their edge is in their ability to recognize when conditions are in their favor. They do not feel compelled to react to every candle, every news release, or every sudden spike. Their patience is a weapon, their timing precise, their profits consistent. Amateur traders, on the other hand, pay to trade. They react impulsively, follow their emotions, and fall into the trap of constant activity. They think they are in control, but in reality, they are surrendering to the market's chaos. When I embraced patience, my trading frequency dropped dramatically. I stopped chasing setups that were not clear. I stopped forcing trades just to feel like I was working. And here is the paradox. As I traded less, my profits grew. The market started to reward me not for how much I did, but for how wisely I acted. Each trade I took had a purpose, each decision was calculated, and each outcome reflected preparation and discipline rather than luck or emotion. Patience is not weakness. It is controlled power. It is strength disguised as restraint. The ability to wait, to delay gratification, to respect the timing of the market, and to trust in your edge is one of the most potent qualities a trader, or anyone, can develop. It requires self-control, confidence, and clarity. But once you master it, you no longer trade out of fear, greed, or boredom. You trade from a place of power, knowing that your results will follow your discipline and judgment. In life and in trading, patience pays more than excitement ever could. The world may glorify constant action, but the greatest success comes to those who learn to wait for the right moments. Your edge is not in speed. Your profits are not in volume, they are in precision. And your freedom, your confidence, and your long-term growth come from understanding that patience is not a passive choice. It is your most powerful weapon. For a long time, I believed that risk management was a limitation, that it was holding me back from the big wins I dreamed of. I thought that to become a successful trader, I had to take bigger risks, push harder, and chase the opportunities that promised quick profits. I risked 10% or even 20% of my account on single trades, convinced that a big win would change everything. But I quickly learned that this mindset was not building wealth. It was gambling. I was putting my future in jeopardy for the illusion of fast success, and the market doesn't care about illusions. The moment I began losing repeatedly, my account spiraled, my confidence shattered, and my dreams of success seemed to slip further away. Then I discovered the true power of risk management, and it changed everything. I reduced my risk per trade to 1-2% of my account. At first, it felt small, almost insignificant. I questioned whether I would ever make meaningful profits at such low risk, but gradually I realized something profound: small, consistent actions build lasting results, while reckless, high-risk moves destroy futures. Small losses became tuition fees, lessons paid to the market for experience. They were not failures, they were investments in my growth. Large losses, on the other hand, were ego payments, punishments for pride and impatience. By respecting risk, I learned to respect myself. I no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. I no longer needed to chase big wins or get even. My goal shifted. Consistency, discipline, and preservation of capital became my mission. Consistency is the secret compounder of trading. A disciplined 2% gain, repeated day after day, week after week, month after month, builds a foundation far stronger than a single lucky 50% gain that is quickly lost in overconfidence. Trading is not about hitting jackpots. It is about surviving long enough to thrive, about staying in the game long enough for compounding to work its magic. Every trader who has built real wealth understands this principle. The market does not reward recklessness. It rewards prudence. Survival is not a compromise, it is the prerequisite for success. When I embraced risk management, I began to see my account as a reflection of my self-respect. I realized that risking too much was a form of disrespect, both for my money and for my discipline. When I limited my risk, I no longer felt the emotional roller coaster that comes with large, reckless positions. I could think clearly, act rationally, and make decisions based on logic rather than emotion. Risk management gave me freedom, clarity, and confidence. True profitability is never about luck. It is about protecting yourself, making steady progress, and letting discipline guide your actions. By treating risk management as a form of self-respect, I transformed my approach to trading, my results improved, and my mindset evolved. I stopped chasing instant gratification and started building long-term wealth. I began to understand that the market does not reward greed, it rewards wisdom. In trading, as in life, respecting the limits you set for yourself is one of the greatest acts of self-love, discipline, and foresight you can practice. I once believed that indicators, strategies, and technical patterns were the keys to consistent profitability in trading. I thought that if I simply found the perfect combination of signals, charts, and setups, the money would follow naturally. But after countless trades and repeated losses, I realized the hard truth. Indicators don't make you profitable, emotional control does. Without mastery over your mind, no strategy, no algorithm, no system can save you from mistakes, fear, greed, or ego. The market is unforgiving to emotional traders, and it tests your character relentlessly, every single day. Fear was my first enemy. I would see a trade moving against me and panic. I would exit early, often missing the eventual reversal or trend that would have turned a loss into a small gain. Fear convinced me that I needed to cut losses fast. But in reality, it was robbing me of potential profit. On the other side, greed was equally destructive. When trades went in my favor, I held on too long, hoping for more than my plan allowed, only to see profits vanish in moments of overconfidence. And then there was ego, the most dangerous of all. Ego made me refuse to accept losses, making me stubbornly hold on to losing positions to prove that I was right. These emotions were invisible, yet they controlled my decisions far more than any chart or indicator ever could. I realized that to become a consistent trader, I needed to work on myself more than I worked on the charts. I began incorporating practices that trained my mind and strengthened my emotional resilience. I started meditating before trading, creating a sense of calm and focus before even opening my platform. I implemented strict rules: no trading when angry, tired, or emotionally compromised. I reviewed my mindset as diligently as I reviewed my strategies. Each day, I asked myself, am I trading from clarity or chaos? Am I acting from strategy or from emotion? The market became a mirror. Every trade reflected who I was inside: impatient, anxious, greedy, or disciplined. The charts were simply a reflection of my inner state. When I was tense, my trades were rushed and mistakes were frequent. When I was calm, disciplined, and focused, my trading became clear, rational, and effective. Emotional control transformed the way I approached every decision. I no longer reacted to noise, I responded to opportunity. I no longer chased wins or feared losses, I respected both, understanding that each trade was part of a bigger journey. Eventually, I learned that the edge in trading is never in the system, it is in yourself. Emotional control is the real edge. It is the difference between a trader who survives and one who thrives. Mastery over fear, greed, and ego allows you to see the market with clarity, to execute your plan without hesitation, and to stay disciplined even in the most volatile conditions. Calmness becomes your power, patience becomes your strength, and discipline becomes your shield. The more control you cultivate over your emotions, the clearer your decisions, the more consistent your results, and the closer you move to true profitability. Trading is a test of character, and the market rewards those who have mastered themselves. When I first started trading, I was obsessed with fast money. I thought success meant quick wins, big gains, and instant validation. I chased setups that promised rapid profits, jumped on every tip I heard, and over-leveraged my account in the hope of striking it rich. But fast money has a dark side. It creates fast losses, fast disappointment, and fast frustration. Every time I chased immediate gains, I ended up paying the market a heavy price, not just financially, but emotionally and mentally. I was trapped in a cycle of short-term thinking, reacting to every swing, every headline, every signal, without a sense of direction or purpose. Then I began reflecting on the teachings of Jim Rohn, who emphasized long-term growth, character development, and the principle that your results are a reflection of who you become. I asked myself a new question. Who do I need to become to deserve consistent profits? Not, how can I make money today? But rather, what kind of trader, what kind of person, do I need to be to achieve lasting success? This shift in perspective transformed my approach completely. I realized that trading was not just a financial game, it was personal development in disguise. Every trade, every decision, every challenge was a mirror showing me what I needed to improve within myself. I stopped focusing obsessively on my daily P&L. I stopped measuring my worth by how much I made, or lost, on any given day. Instead, I focused on building habits, routines, and principles that would serve me for years to come. I cultivated discipline, patience, strategic thinking, and emotional control. I analyzed my behavior more than my charts. I questioned my impulses, reflected on my mindset, and measured my growth by the consistency of my actions rather than the fluctuation of my account balance. Something powerful began to happen. When I concentrated on becoming the right kind of trader, the disciplined, patient, and strategic version of myself, money started to flow naturally as a byproduct. Profits were no longer random or fleeting, they were consistent reflections of the habits and character I had built. The market stopped being a lottery, and became a stage on which my skills, my preparation, and my mindset could perform. Every thoughtful, deliberate action reinforced my growth, and every loss became a lesson in long-term improvement rather than a failure to hit a quick target. I learned that the market rewards those who think in years, not days. It rewards those who are willing to delay gratification, who are willing to work on themselves quietly, steadily, and without distraction. Short-term impulses and the desire for fast money are seductive, they promise excitement and instant results, but they rarely deliver sustainable success. Long-term vision, however, compounds like a powerful force. The trader who develops patience, consistency, and self-mastery gains not just financial rewards but freedom, confidence, and clarity. In the end, I realized that trading, like life, is a reflection of character. The more I developed myself, the more my account reflected it. Wealth became a mirror of my discipline, patience, and strategic thinking. The more I focused on becoming the right person, the easier it was to navigate losses, resist impulses, and make rational decisions. Long-term vision beats short-term impulse every time. Fast money may excite, but character, and the profits that follow it, endures forever. Listen carefully. Trading is not a money game. It is a character game. You do not get what you want in the market. You get what you deserve based on your habits. Discipline is painful, but regret is devastating. You can continue chasing signals, or you can start building standards. You can continue blaming the market, or you can start mastering yourself. The market does not reward excitement. It rewards consistency. And the moment you choose discipline over impulse, that's the moment profitability begins. Your breakthrough is not in the charts. It is in your character. Now the question is, will you trade for emotion, or will you trade for excellence? Choose wisely.